Good morning, and thank you again for joining us. This is Mark Morris with the Word of Faith Fellowship, and we're so glad that you are listening today. We have enjoyed sharing with you so many things that God has done in our lives at the Word of Faith Fellowship. And so today I have two very special guests here with me. I have Raquel and Davi. They're both from Brazil. They're from an area in Brazil that is in the Belo Horizonte region, and so both of them grew up in a church in Brazil that is very close to our church here with the Word Faith Fellowship, and I've shared about it before. Even as recent as the last program that I was on about a week ago, we shared about that there is a couple of churches in Brazil that our pastors were very close friends with the pastors in Brazil, going all the way back to many, many years ago when our pastor Sam taught at Bible school. And so there is a long relationship there. And so over the years, our church has done many conferences with these two churches in Brazil, and we have enjoyed a very good, close relationship with them. And then they have also, their church members have come here and visited and come to church conferences. So we've actually become very close over the years. And over time, some of the young people in these churches in Brazil have come here to go to college and actually studied, and we've opened our homes. Some of our church members opened our homes to them so they can stay here while they studied. And so it's been a great relationship. And so I just want to bring you back to, some of you may recall if you've been listening on this program, we have been covering an AP article that came out over a year ago that was about our church. And it was accusations. It was the article was entitled "They Kept Us as Slaves." And so the accusation was from some young people from Brazil who had come here and visited and then left the church. They said that when they came here, they were treated like slaves. They were made to work and forced to work, and their passports were kept from them. They couldn't leave Brazil. And on the last program that I was on this radio program about a week ago, we covered that in depth. And actually, the matter was in one of the churches in Brazil, in the Franco da Rocha area near São Paulo. The labor board, the labor ministry actually got involved and brought a lawsuit against that church, claiming that they were sending slaves here. So you see this thing mushroom. You have this AP article with a few young Brazilians that are saying all these things of how they were treated here, and then this thing mushrooms into this, this investigation, and then the labor ministry brings this lawsuit against the church in Brazil, one of them, and accuses them of funneling slaves right here to Spindale, that we somehow have all these slaves coming from Brazil. So what I did on the last program, and I hope if you'll have time, if you did not hear that, you'll go back, because I spent a lot of time reading that there was actually a full hearing on the matter in Brazil. A judge heard the matter. He heard these allegations that they were forcing people to work in that church, and they were sending people over here to work. And so what you have is a ruling by a judge in Brazil that heard both sides of the story and spent a lot of time, and the ruling was very, very long. It was many, many pages, and he analyzed all the testimony. It was both written testimony, it was oral testimony, and so forth. And at the end of all this, the judge makes a final ruling, and he finds that all of these the testimony that these people said they came here and they were forced to work, he finds out that actually what really happened was they had a great life here. He even says that their life was so far above, they were treated so far above how people were treated in Brazil with economic problems in Brazil, and that these people, and he even labeled some of these young people that were testifying as egocentric. And he goes on and he says, for those reasons, in addition to other contradictions and inconsistencies, I will not accept the allegations of the witnesses of the public ministry of labor. And then it goes on and says, for these reasons, I dismiss as unfounded the pleadings in question. So after a full and final hearing, you hear these allegations that the Word of Faith Fellowship is slaveholders. A judge in Brazil hears all of the witnesses and says, I find that this is totally unfounded. Not only that, but these young people that came to the United States were treated so well, far above how people are treated in Brazil. So there's the ruling. Now here's what's interesting. When you go back and you look at this AP article, it's called "They Kept Us as Slaves." you read this reporter, the AP reporter Mitch Weiss, and what he says is, after investigating, the AP found that people were funneled from Brazil to Word of Faith Fellowship for forced labor. Okay, this is what the AP found. Well, here's the situation. After you have a full, fair hearing by a judge, the judge found that those were unfounded. Now, how about that? That's what you don't get to hear about. You get to hear the truth when you hear all the evidence and you put everything together. So we're appreciative of that ruling. Now, we're going to keep going with this. This is my third radio program I'm doing on this. Why am I here today with radio program 3 about this? Why? Because this is so serious to make an allegation that our church is forcing people to work, that we're having slaves. It is so contrary. And I've shared this before. I came here when I was 19 years old from Los Angeles. I'm a practicing attorney in the state of North Carolina, licensed. I'm not going to be a part of a church that is violating these laws, that is forcing people to work. Second of all, I'm a Christian. And in our church at the Word of Faith Fellowship, and I've shared this before, there's one thing about our church that is very true, and everybody that's been there knows this, that our church has so much love. When you walk in, you feel God's love. That's what you feel, because our church is really a church that has a heart that wants to serve God. And when you want to serve God, you feel His love. And so having people in there and treating them poorly as slaves and making people do things is so opposite of love. And Jesus loved us, and He said, "This is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you." And that's a very strong word, because we know that Jesus Christ gave His life for us. So He's saying He wants us to give our lives for others. So this is the church I belong to. This is the Word of Faith Fellowship. And so when you come to our church, you don't see slaves. What you see is people that love other people. And so that's why I'm here today with Raquel and Davi. So Raquel actually came here many years as a young child to visit with her family, and had a great relationship. She developed a lot of friends here, and ended up, when she got out of high school in Brazil, she wanted to study here, so she got a visa for student visa, and she came here to study. And after she had been studying here, lo and behold, she meets some young man in our church named Bryson Smith, who they became very close, and then she ended up marrying him. So she is here with Bryson Smith, and her brother is here with her, Davi. And Davi actually lives in Brazil. He's 21, and he just comes here to visit. He visits his sister here, and he has also come here many times and loves coming here and has lots of friends here. So, but his dad actually owns a business in Brazil, and so he actually works with his dad in Brazil, but likes to come here and see his friends and, of course, his sister. So we're going to hear from them, and I'm going to start off with Raquel. So Raquel, you grew up in Brazil, and I know you're aware of the AP article that came out. They treat us as slaves. And I want to ask you specifically, there was on the AP article two young ladies there. One was Anna and one was Rebecca. And they were on there, and they're part of this article, sharing that both of them came here to visit. I think Anna came here 11 times, the AP article says. And so in this article they're part of, there's these allegations that these people were forced to work when they were here. They were treated terrible, like slaves, and even just yelled at, and in very bad conditions. So did you know either of these two young ladies in the article?
Yes.
Would you tell us about what you know about this?
Sure. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Good morning. Yes, I knew both girls, and actually I was born just a few months before Anna Carolina, and we were in the same class together since kindergarten, and we grew up all the way to through 12th grade, and we graduated. She is totally a different person today. It's not who she was when I was in school with her. And actually, when we were 12 years old, we came here together with her grandmother, and we stayed at her aunt and uncle's house. And she had little cousins, and she was never mistreated. She was never put to work. That is a total lie. And she would go on vacation trips with them. She would play with her little cousins. We've always had the best time together. So what she's saying, it's a total lie. It's not truth at all. And Rebecca Mello, actually, I lived with her here at one of the homes here for several months. I'm not sure if it was even a year or two. It may have been. But I never saw her being mistreated either. She was never a slave. None of us, we were never slaves. I don't even know why say that, because if you're a slave, why come back and forth so many times? I mean, and if you're a slave, they won't let you go. So that's a total lie. And so Rebecca was given everything. Her and her parents couldn't afford for her to go to college here, and everyone here gave her everything. I remember bags of clothes coming in the house for her, and one day she really wanted a Coach purse, and she didn't have money to get it, and the house she was at, the couple that owned the house, they gave her a brand new Coach purse. And so everything she needed, she was given. And it really bothers me to hear all these people lying, against this church that has only loved people. And, everyone here, every house I've been in, they opened their homes for us, and they've done everything they can and treated us as family. And so it's not truth at all. And first time I've ever came, I was 5 years old, and all I felt was the love of God. And since I was little, I always wanted to come back. And I came back and forth several times. And then, like Mark said, after I graduated high school, I went to college here to isothermal for 3 years and graduated with honors. We studied as much as we needed to. There was no slavery, no force to work. That is not true. And how can you graduate with honors if you're a slave? There's no way. And succeed. There's no way. And so after that, I just wanted to be here. And I knew that was God's will for me. And so God sent my way Bryson Smith, where I met here. And we ended up getting married. And he's the best husband I could ever ask for. God has blessed me so much. And he happened to be Jane Whaley's first cousin. And the first time I've ever met Jane, she's the most loving person I've ever met. All she did was love me and help me however she could. And I'm so grateful for her, and today is such an honor and privilege to be able to marry into the family. And I just have the happiest life and the happiest family. I love my family. I love my husband. I love my wife, and it's just been wonderful.
And thank you for sharing that. And God has blessed you. I know Bryson very well, and he's a blessing, and his family's a blessing too. And here, it's amazing. I know Bryson grew up in Golden Valley, and here you are from Belo Horizonte, Bicas area in Brazil. So quite a couple here. We have one from Golden Valley and one from Belo Horizonte area. So, but it's amazing how God joins us together. So Davi's here. He is Raquel's brother, and he is here visiting. And so, Davi, you grew up in the Christian school down in Brazil. And so just tell us a little bit about your background growing up in school.
Sure, thank you, Mark. And I grew up in the Christian school in Brazil since I was little, and it's definitely a very, very good school. There is no bullying, no violence. The children love each other. They love their teachers. teachers love the students. They do everything they can to help them. And there is no way a child that's been abused, beat up, and you can go down the list of everything they say about them, to graduate from high school, go out into other countries, graduate in college with honors, and achieve all these things, become professionals, have their own business. How can you be so abused and become somebody like that? It's just impossible. And I was very privileged to study in this school. I get to visit a lot of public schools in Brazil, and I just see the shape this world is in. It's very bad, and I'm just very grateful that I was able to go to a school where people actually love me and you can learn things, because today, there's no respect for teachers. Children does not love each other. They just make fun of each other. And, besides all that too, we always had a great time at school. We always got to play a lot, sports and everything. It was definitely very good, Mark.
And tell me about, I know you've come here a lot. You come here to visit. You've been coming since you were younger. How many years have you been coming to visit now here in North Carolina?
I've been coming here for 9 years.
And tell me about, you've heard too, Davi, the allegations of people come here from Brazil. I know you know about this article too, because you were shocked like your sister was, and I know you know some of these people that were on that article. But so you've been here many times. And you're a young man. Tell us how your experience has been coming to visit here at the Word of Faith Fellowship.
Well, I definitely have loved every bit of it. Since my first time I came here with my mom in 2011, I came to visit my sister. She was in college. And I remember my sister brought us to church one day, and we're actually in a prayer meeting. It was wonderful. Everybody was just smiling, so happy. Everybody came to hug us and talk to us, and I was pretty shocked because I didn't know most of the people there, and I was like, how come they all act like they already know me for years, So it was very good. And, they say too, Mark, about taking our passports and all these things, That's the biggest lie. I even got my passport here with me. I got 2 of them. You can't see here. I've come here many times and nobody's ever locked me up here or done anything to me. I can go back and forth as many times as I want to, do whatever I want. I'm free to go anywhere. And I've traveled by myself actually many times. And, there is not a way for people to, direct. You're supposed to go to Brazil or come to the States and work forced here and be working in Brazil and all these things. That's just the biggest lie. It just doesn't work that way. And I'm able to come here. I just love everybody, and since my first time I liked it so much that I just wanted to keep coming back. And every time in my spare time, I work with my dad in Brazil, but when I can, I come here on my vacation times. And I would never spend my money to go to a place that I'm gonna be locked up working every day. Of course not. So let's think big here, everyone, because this is not the truth. But anyway, I do love this place. I got to be a lot with Jane's family, actually. We've become very close friends, and I love every one of them. And all they've done is just the best for all of us. I go to their house. All they've told me is, you're home. You have everything here. If you need food, if you need this, it's all here. You can eat as much as you want. They just make me feel home. And that's, you can't find love like that in another country, going to another country, into people that you didn't really know, and they all accept you with wide open arms. And it's very good, and actually her daughter Robin too, she has taken really good care of us. And she has a son, Brock, and we are very close friends too. And she takes us out to eat and go get ice cream, donuts, and takes us out shopping to go to ball games. And I do get to play a lot here, just so you know. Brock and I play basketball, we go swimming, play pool, by the way. There's some things I've heard about people saying we're not allowed to do. We play pool, we play ping pong, Monopoly, and all these games. We always have fun every day. It's very good. I love being here.
And you have heard too, I'm sure, Davi, that you probably heard, we've shared on this program about John Huddle wrote a book about our church. He's an ex-member, and it was one of the things that he had was that our church has all of these rules, and he gives a big list, and some of those things you've even just covered, that we don't play Monopoly. It was all kinds of stuff on there. And we spent a lot of time covering that on this radio program. But you're here, you're a young man here on this program. You've grown up in the church in Brazil, but you've also come here a lot. And so are you familiar with when you come here to our church, is having all of these rules, like John Huddle describes, that you've got to follow all of these rules?
Well, I just actually had to take a look into these rules, yesterday, because I've never heard of any of that. It's actually like 140 something rules. It's pretty amazing how he can tell y'all about all these rules that I've never seen. I've been coming here for about 10 years, and I was never told you're supposed to follow this rule or follow that other rule. Actually, since I came here, everything that's been preached here in this church is we should love one another. Jane always talks about 1 Corinthians 13. It's the chapter in the Bible that talks about love, and that's the main thing we have in our church. And I see in everybody that everybody loves each other. And, all these things, they try to blame her and say all these things about her, but it's all just this fake news, the biggest, fattest lie you can ever hear about everything they try to make up. Because as I've told you, all they've done is take good care of us. By the way, one of the rules here is about black tennis shoes. I just got a pair of beautiful Under Armour black tennis shoes, and they said you can't wear double crease on your pants. I got double crease on my pants here.
These are all these rules in John Huddle's book. No black tennis shoes, and you're saying you actually have a pair of black tennis shoes. So.
I do. I wear it all the time, and I enjoy it. It's just crazy, crazy.
Well, and if you would we just have a few minutes left, and if either one of you just want to share out of your heart. I know both of you for many years, and I've seen your lives just really be touched by God. Both of you are real blessings to be around, and so if you just got a minute or two, if you want to share with the listeners, just what Jesus is to you and what He's done in your hearts. Davi, you want to share?
Well, as Mark is saying here, I grew up in a Christian home, and that kinds of leads you in, to be able to go to church every day and learn about Jesus. But it comes to a point that has to be you with God, what's your own decision you're going to make. And, that's where I have always that verse before me in Matthew 13, verse 45 and 46, that talks about that man that found that great pearl, and he went and sold everything and just to buy that precious pearl, and that pearl is Jesus. And that's what I have in my heart, I'm ready to give up of anything to serve Jesus, because He must be the most important thing in our lives. And when we have Him living in us, we have everything, and He blesses with everything. He gives us everything we need, and everything in our lives works great, because He is the one directing our lives in everything we do. And, that's where I see, even coming here, how much love I feel from everybody, It's just amazing, because that's where I learn from that, and I just want to show that to people, too. I just want to love people, and that's a great thing to me, because I was even going to share about Frank. He works every day, but he takes his time on Saturdays to take Brock and I to play ball, and then take us
Sam
to
and
eat.
Jane's son-in-law, and then part of the family that you're really a part of.
Yeah, it's just amazing. I'm just amazed at all this love, It's really a really important thing in our lives,
And so thank you so much. Did you have anything
Sure,
you wanted to add?
yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah, since the first time I came here, like I said before, all I felt was love. And, every time I looked at the people here, they were so loving, so kind. And that's what I wanted. I saw something different in them. And that's what I wanted for me personally. And all that's ever taught here is for us to have that personal relationship with Jesus, like my brother was saying, and hear his voice and obeying every day. And it's so simple. And so that's what every day that's what I do, is cry out to Jesus for him to help me in anything I do or say and anywhere I go. And I want to be in his will. And just one more thing, Mark, that amazes me is all these people that, have left. The verse that always comes back to me is in Romans 1 that says, that because they rejected the truth, God sent upon them a misleading influence that, and they start believing a lie, and it's a total lie. And, I never want to be that way. And, all these people ever do is love.
And thank you so much. And that's very true. And you've seen it, Raquel, with your own eyes. And it's very sad.
Yes.
So, and as Davi shared, Jesus Christ is that pearl of great price. I love that. I love that parable, and how when you find Jesus Christ, you have found everything that you need. And that was so good, Davi, for you to share that. So we thank you, listeners, again for listening. This is Word of Faith Responds, and we are here Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, 8:30 to 9. We're sharing with you the truth about our church, and then we're also sharing with you just how good God is. So we hope that you will continue listening to us. We do have a website. If you want to go to that, you can go to our prior radio programs. They're all on our website, and that is wordoffaithfellowship.org. We actually video these so you can actually watch them. And thank you again for listening.